Greetings, everyone. This is Lorenzo, your host of the Leaders What podcast. Today, episode 237. I have a very special guest for you, my new good friend, Sartre, from is in Calgary. He's a fellow French speaker. It's always awesome for me to talk to people I meet in French because that's something that I don't have much opportunities nowadays, but it's always a pleasure. So we met
Mm.
a week ago. We had a conversation a week ago. And and we got to find out that we have a few things in common. We're on the same page when it comes to mindset and lifestyle, the way we view things, so which is beautiful. And then I got to learn about him. He also speaks multiple languages. He has had a very interesting path in life so far. We can do two episodes just on that alone. He speaks among the languages he speaks obviously French, English, uh, Creole. He's originally from Haiti, and then he also speaks Japanese and Mandarin. And he also lived in Japan for a few years. We can do an entire episode just on life in Japan. That's something I've always been fascinated by Japan. But we'll cover some of that. And and now he's working as a personal trainer. He works with busy professional men between 40 to 50, the ages of 40 to 50 to and help them lose 12 pounds and at home in 12 weeks with just one exercise. And so this is something that is very powerful. And I'm super happy to have him here. And there's a lot more that we can cover because he had to change his life himself. He lost 50 pounds in 24 weeks. That was remarkable. And now he's taking that gift and sharing it with others. So I'm super excited to have him here. So without any further ado, Sartre, brother, bonjour, bienvenue. Welcome to the show.
Bonjour, merci. Thanks, Lorenzo.
You're
Thanks for
welcome.
having me. I really am grateful. It was a pleasure speaking with you last week.
It was all
And I did
mine.
listen to one of your podcasts with one of your recent lifestyle coaches. He
Which
was,
one?
very fascinating individual. He had a long title of a lifestyle type of coach, and to some degree he had a very interesting um podcast, and I am so grateful to have listened to it and just to get the feel of how you work with people.
Mm-hmm.
And and yeah, he was fascinating. Which one was it? I'm just looking here.
Was it a recent one or was it because
Yeah,
of
episode 49. Oh, it wasn't too recent. Understanding your importance and while uncovering your life's mission. That was actually episode 49 from March 2022. Roger Burnley.
Oh yeah, Roger is amazing. Oh yes, Roger is incredible.
Yeah,
Oh
but you've
yeah,
had a lot of podcasts since then. That was a really good one.
oh yeah. I
Very
mean,
interesting.
yeah. No, Rogers.
Oh,
Yeah, it's funny because the person I had earlier before you, he actually mentioned that he's actually doing coaching with Roger.
oh,
They're
okay.
working together. So wow, small world. Beautiful. Well, thank you for that. I'm honored that you listened to it. I'm happy.
Yeah.
So so let's get going. So
Yes.
the type of conversation I like to have is sure we're going to talk about your business and all that, but first and foremost, I want to have a look under the hood, so to speak, to see what's in your heart, to get to know you as a person, human being, to see who's Sartre first and foremost as a man, as a human being before the business person. So
Mhm.
with that in mind, tell us for people who don't know you, who's Sartre as a person, as a man, as a human being?
Sartre Jean-Gilles.
Yeah.
Yes, I am definitely a self-learner.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big thing I've uh in my life has been, I taught myself how to ride a bike.
Yeah.
I'm the one, like when the training wheels fell off, I was still spinning those wheels. Like I didn't have my dad, with me the whole time when I taught myself to ride a bike. At 30, I taught myself to swim to the point where I would
Wow.
tread water for an hour, dive to the bottom and grab things, grab those bricks, and jump from the diving board, the Olympic diving board, and cannonball. So that was a great fear that I've um, overcame because I was afraid of swimming for a long time. Taught
Yeah.
myself, yeah, I've taught myself well, to some degree, 6 languages. Like, um, I remember when I was a kinesiologist in Ottawa, and that was at that point about 20 years ago. My French had lagged, Lorenzo. I'm sorry to say, and
All
it was
right.
after university, and I remember one of my clients, and of course I'm not going to say his name for client confidentiality purposes,
Sure.
but he was a writer, and he said, Sartre, la langue c'est l'âme, and I'll
Yes.
never language is the soul. So I was like,
Totally.
and it stung in a good way because that really kicked me into high gear to brush up on my French. It's been a nice journey on the way back now to the point where I can work in it now. And then having gone to Japan, having to teach myself kanji and reading and
Wow.
that language, which is the opposite of all of these, Haitian Creole, French, and English, which go one way. Japanese goes the other way grammatically, right?
Totally.
So teaching myself that language gave me a lot of confidence, and
For sure.
definitely kept on with that, and picked up Spanish during the quarantine, and
Wow.
um, yeah, Korean and Mandarin to some degree, and yeah, I love teaching myself. I love self-learning, so that's a big thing about me is self-teaching, that type of independent journey is it's just even just for the sake of it, I think is definitely worth it. And then of course that always tackling the physical, you know um with the calisthenics and the different, I've got those rings you can see behind me, and even being mediocre at a lot of things physically is, with swimming and other things, I think it's good to be mediocre at a lot of things physically, for the brain, for the development, and for the body and soul. I think that's
It's better
important.
to be mediocre than not even try.
Yeah, exactly. You gain so much from that challenge. If something is a bit of a challenge all the time, if you have a lot of different challenges on that end, I think it's really beneficial to you. Rather than, I mean, you see in sports nowadays, I'm going on a tangent, but in the NBA, for example, all these younger players are getting constantly injured now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because they do their high school sports, and then in the spring and summer they're doing AAU, or community basketball. So they're not playing different sports. They're not mixing it up. And that type of repetitive stress on the body is something that, when they could have just done something else and been able to consolidate it in a different way, and then they would probably be better athletes and get injured a lot less. One of my favorite MMA fighters, her name is Valentina Shevchenko. She just lost the title, and she is of, I think, Kyrgyz, and she lives in South America, I think Peru,
Wow.
and but born in, I think, Kyrgyzstan or Kazakhstan, one of those countries. In any case, she is the consummate martial artist, and one thing that she does is she's always like, she's a tactical shooter.
Wow.
You go through the maze kind of thing, and your tactical shooting. She does that. She does fishing. She does dance. So she cultivates her physical um, prowesses, let's say, in different ways, and that's what makes her the colorful fighter that she is. Paul Correa, hockey player, um, back in the day, he used to take figure skating,
Yeah.
and he was an amazing hockey player because he had that type of
Exactly.
point of that type of stimulation and growth of his physical body that people don't think about, and I think it's really important.
Yeah. Beautiful. Love that. Now, to start with, I'd like to ask you a series of rapid fire questions to further get to know you. Ready?
Okay. Yes.
All right. What makes you what makes you happy as a person?
Learning.
Love that. What makes you smile?
Having succeeded and in a challenge.
Mm, beautiful. Now let's take the happiness factor a couple of notches higher. What makes your soul set on fire? What makes your heart sing?
What makes my heart sing? when I can when I can level up in a way so that I'm not just doing something for the sake of doing it. So
Mm.
if I'm not like learning a language, but also being in the atmosphere, being in the environment where I can uh, utilize it, you know, and make friends and learn from other people and be in an atmosphere. Um, I think that would definitely, I'd say, would set my soul on fire.
Beautiful. Now, what makes you sad and angry?
Well, I'd say stagnation, not being able to communicate with others,
Hmm.
uh, not being able to convey my message.
Yes,
Definitely.
I'm with you on that. What scares you?
Not fulfilling my dreams.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I agree. Now, what would you say is your number one personal superpower?
My open mind.
Oh, that's
My
a
willingness to learn and to cast a wide net.
love that. Love that. Now, you enjoy traveling, right?
Yes, and I want to get back on that.
All right, we'll talk about that in a moment. Now, let me take you down a different type of traveling down memory line. Remember when we were kids growing up, family, teachers, friends, relatives always ask us, so, Sartre, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer to that question as a young boy?
Architect.
Really? Why?
Because we played that board game, Was It Life? And you picked the car, the condo, or the
Oh,
house
really?
and the job. It was kind of
Really?
like Monopoly and life. If it was it life, and I always wanted architect. I wanted the architect every time,
Did you
and
have
because I
anyone?
love to draw,
Did you have
I love
anyone in your family, architect, like your father, uncle?
no, no, no. But I love drawing.
Ah,
Something I want to get back on. Um, and like you can see here, no, I'm not sure people can see, but I've got a whole two books of like the Human Atlas, and I drew
wow.
the whole Human Atlas a few years ago because I really want to get back on it. And then I bought one of these little
Oh,
stick figure
wow.
things. You know,
Uh-huh.
you buy it at the dollar store, but it's really good to help you to start learning how to draw.
Oh, yeah.
So that is an aspect of my life that I'm really looking forward to getting back in terms of a hobby of mine. And so, yeah, that's what I love doing.
Beautiful. Love that. Now, growing up, what was your relationship with school? Did you love school or did you hate school?
I love social studies. I loved art. I loved biology. I loved math when I applied myself. Um, I love physical activity. I love most of it. I didn't like grammar, didn't
Why?
like French, so I didn't get it.
Mhm.
I just, especially from being a kid, Haitian Creole and French were my native languages, but they were kind of like a mush in my
Yeah.
brain. And to distinguish it, and then French, I mean, French is there's so many tenses that you don't even use anymore. Like juste, jam, juste, and all these like le passé antérieur and all these tenses that you
Yeah.
don't even need. Um, so for me, and then I'm in this limbo area, Lorenzo, where I came to Calgary when I was 4.5. I knew French and Creole. I went fully schooled in French immersion, but all my friends were like kids from Anglophone families, right? But so I was always a bit better than they were, but because of their anxieties, it just translated onto me in French class in a lot of ways. You know, but now here I am. I've recovered in a lot of ways in my French. They're not even speaking a word. They understand it, but they don't speak it. And so French wasn't fun. It wasn't that fun in school.
Mm,
I really developed a love for languages outside of school because I could pace myself.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Same here. Absolutely. Now, you said you moved to Calgary when you were 4 years old. How difficult, how challenging was it for you to come from your tropical island of Haiti to the extreme cold of Calgary? Because for me,
No,
it was very hard for me.
yeah, correction. I was born in Montreal.
Ah, okay, okay, okay.
Born
So
in
you
Montreal, huge Montreal Nord, so huge Haitian population there.
Laval?
I mean, Montreal North,
Okay,
so just northern Montreal.
okay.
And I mean, probably the biggest Haitian population next to Miami, right? So
Wow.
in Fort Brooklyn. So yeah, it's I was born in Montreal, and I have some memories of living there. And then, but I moved to Calgary and quickly learned English. And I mean, I was only 4.5.
Yeah,
And no, I've actually never been to Haiti, unfortunately, and it's a scary notion. Sounding like I do, looking like I do, healthy, and knowing what's going on there.
sure.
Um, it's for people like me who are of extraction, it can be very dangerous.
Yeah.
It is very dangerous. Let's just put it at that.
I feel the same because I was born in Afghanistan. I left when I was 3.5, 4, and I've never been, despite me traveling around the world. But that's the one place I really want to go. But unfortunately, it's not an option right now, and for the foreseeable future because of the situation there, it's not safe at all. But that's
Mhm.
my ultimate dreams to go travel around the country of my parents, my ancestors, just like you, for example. Yeah.
Afghanistan is the just confluence of cultures.
Oh yes,
So many cultures there. It's just amazing.
yes, yes,
And I mean, Alexander couldn't conquer it. Alexander the Great, right?
yes. The British, the Soviets, the Americans. Nobody,
Yeah,
not even
nobody.
God can conquer it. You know, they
Yeah,
have a
no one
joke.
can. Yeah. So, yeah, no, there's a lot of history there.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
Now, you growing up, uh, say what kind of student, what kind of kid were you? Say if you were in the same class in grade 10, grade 11, were you like the life of the class, the clown of the
Mm.
class, the nerd, the quiet but super smart student? Tell us, or the sporty kid. What type of student person were you saying in high school in grade 11?
I think, yeah, I think I was kind of the all-round kid. I
Okay.
was kind of because I was on the basketball team, but I didn't make the basketball team till I was 12. I mean, in the 12th grade, I, I didn't do well in chemistry until the 12th grade, and then I destroyed it. But, I loved music. I, I was a bit of everything.
Mm.
I was like, I got 70s, and then in the 12th grade I started getting 80s and 90s. It was interesting. Um, so I was definitely a joker, but not always. I'm not kind of a decathlete in that sense. Bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I never really I loved I was very I loved people, and I loved
Mhm.
high school was great, especially my high school, because we didn't, I mean, dude, you have cliques, but it wasn't as, we different cliques would have come over to different parties, though you might have like a central group, but it was a very big, open,
Yeah,
healthy relationship that we had in our high school.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
What was your very first job?
Flyers, delivering flyers.
Same
And
here.
that's when I probably, it might sound mundane, but I started to understand the benefits of kind of um stacking habits on top of one another.
Mm.
Doing physical activity while you work. Learning, like sometimes I'll play. I'm not playing right now, but I have a video. I've got a video game on Steam, on one video game on my Steam account, but I played in French. So I'm not just playing a video game. I'm gonna play it in French. I'm gonna try and make sure that I'm
Combined learning, yeah.
stacking my skills, and not
Beautiful.
wasting time.
Do you remember what those flyers were for?
Oh, like Canadian Tire or
Ah,
whatever.
okay. Do you remember how
Yeah,
much? Do you remember how much we're getting paid for that first job?
it was nothing compared to the newspaper, because the newspaper was high demand because it was in the morning you would deliver it. Flyers I could deliver it within 2 days
Mm,
in the afternoon, and so it wasn't as high of a demand.
yeah,
So you made way less money on flyers, but at least you got a good walk in.
yeah. Oh, yeah. For me, I remember it was for a pizza place, and I was getting $5 per hour. And
Yes.
in the dead of winter, going from in the residential areas home to home, I lasted
Okay.
2 days. I said no, that's not for me.
Yes, this one was, it was like I would get different flyers and I would deliver for different, different companies or whatever, not
Yeah.
just one.
Awesome. Now let's move forward from the time you left school to now. How would you describe your path? Would you say it was pretty much straightforward? Once you're into one lane, smooth sailing, you were set for life, or was it more like a turns and twists, like a roller coaster?
The latter,
Oh
because
yeah.
I graduated. I worked in a physio clinic for a year, just under a year, as a kinesiologist, and that was great in Ottawa. And then I got the itch. Well, yeah, and it was interesting because my then girlfriend, like I told her I want to go to Korea because I knew Korea was on the up and up and interesting, and
Mm.
I got the bug, and I wanted to go to Korea. And she's like, "Nah, we're going to Japan." I'm like, "Yeah, let's go to Japan." Samurai. So we ended up going on. It's called the Japanese Exchange and Teaching Program,
Yeah.
where you teach the JET program. So you teach English with a Japanese teacher.
Mhm.
It's an amazing program. Like I'm so happy it's changed who I am. It was like going to school again, and all. You had this amazing group of friends within each prefecture. A prefecture is a province in Japan,
Area.
right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so we would have our teacher get-togethers, and I did that for 3 years. I was in Fukushima before the unfortunate occurrences of the
Mhm.
earthquake, and then I came back, did my master's in healthcare administration,
So you spent
and
all 3 years in Fukushima, or did you travel different?
yeah, yeah, 3 years in Fukushima. But I did spend, you go out and we went to Vietnam our first Christmas, me and my friends from the States and New Zealand, and spent 3 weeks there. Vietnam is
Nice.
amazing.
Oh
Oh my
yes.
goodness.
I keep hearing that.
Oh,
I
I
haven't
remember,
been to. That's the
oh
only country
no,
in Asia, one of the countries in Asia I haven't been to. Yes.
yeah, it's great. I remember flying over when we were just about to land, and I remember just looking down, and this is 2004, December,
Wow.
and just looking at all of the motor bikes and scooters, mostly scooters actually, and just looking at it, and then made my brain thinking about physiology and anatomy. I'm thinking about, like seeing red blood cells flowing through capillaries.
At the
I
same
used to, I was
vision.
thinking, yeah, I was thinking about that, and that was a great time, Vietnam, just going from Saigon, Ho Chi Minh, all the way up to Hanoi. Amazing food. It was so cheap getting suits made in Hoi An,
Oh yeah.
Hoi An, and riding an elephant, and yeah, it was great.
Did you do the bike tours, like riding a bike across the coastal highways in Vietnam? That's one of the highlights for people to do.
No, but I did hitch rides. I hitched a ride to a Buddhist temple.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, no, it was a great trip. Highly recommend it. It's definitely one of the Asian tigers, let's say.
Oh yeah.
And so I did that, and I did China when I was in Japan. So
Where
China
in
was only,
China?
and I just did Beijing, Great Wall, and Shanghai.
As a vacation?
Yeah, it was in May, so I think that's like a vacation week.
Yeah, yeah,
It was during the Japanese Golden Week,
yeah. Okay.
and so I went to, but I think China also had a week off,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
and so I visited my friends there, and that was a great trip. Definitely happy I did that. I did a lot of Japan, but I still have more to do. I did a lot of Honshu, the main island, and I did a lot of Kyushu, the second biggest island. But I didn't do Hokkaido. I didn't do Shikoku, which is the island right under Tokyo, and then Okinawa chain. I didn't do. So I got a lot of unfinished business in Japan.
Oh yes, same here, brother. I mean, you spent 3 years, I only spent 10 days. I was actually there just a week before that earthquake. We left on Wednesday evening back to Toronto, and
Yeah,
the earthquake was on Friday morning. And I was like, wow.
you were in Tokyo.
Yes.
So my friend in Tokyo, he is from in the United, we're in Manchester, and in the UK. And he was telling me he's got a family there and everything, kids, 3 kids, wife. He was telling me he could hear the infrastructure of Tokyo warping, like when the earthquake was occurring. It was just freaky.
What time did the earthquake hit? Was it in the morning, evening? Do you
I'm
remember?
not sure. I think when I heard about it, it was in the morning where I
Yeah,
was,
same here. Yeah,
mid-morning, I think.
yeah,
I was still living in Vancouver at the time. And yeah, I did hear, when I was there, there were some, I mean, in 2007, there was a Sendai earthquake, and that was pretty scary. And that wasn't even close to but that was the worst one I felt there. And yeah, but that wasn't even close to the one in 2011.
yeah.
So,
How
wow.
do people live with that reality? Because when I was there for my week and a half there, I swear to you, man, every night I was before sleeping I was praying, please God, make sure there's no earthquake while I'm sleeping. But I guess when you live there full time, it become parts of life. You just live with it. You just ignore it.
It's their land. I mean, they've been there for thousands of years.
Yeah, 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 that's true.
Right? So, I mean, they are earthquake proofing their buildings more and more.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I mean, you go to Kobe, one of my Kobe's my. I mean, you can understand why Kobe Bryant's dad named him Kobe, because
Yeah.
Kobe is the most beautiful city. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, in the end of the 90s, it really got struck by one.
Yes. A big one.
And one thing that the Japanese do amazingly is when they rebuild, wow,
Mm.
they're just amazing. Unfortunately, two of my other favorite cities were Hiroshima and Nagasaki in terms of just architecture. And unfortunately, for unfortunate reasons, that's two of my favorite cities that I visited.
Mm.
Um, yeah, when they rebuild, they do an amazing job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What is the one thing you miss the most about Japan, other than the food? That's too easy, man. Come on.
Yeah. The food is katsu curry,
All right.
breaded pork cutlet, and curry rice.
Mhm.
Unbelievable. Again, they took something from India. They took curry from India, imported
Yeah,
the idea, and made it
fusion.
their own. That's what they do. Um, I like that you asked me that question because I was thinking about judo, and that's something I did there.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, and they really expedite you in terms of getting your black belt, because the black belt in Japan is definitely takes less time, let's say, than getting it here in the West.
So does it
Yeah.
have the same weight? Does it have the same value?
I'd say the West is probably more valuable. Like the first degree, second degree, they're pretty much the same. But first degree is a lot easier in Japan. I'll say that. But it's amazing. It's free. I just had to go to the city gym with
Ah,
my gi. I'm like, I'd like to start judo. He's like, yeah, go get your gi. And I came back one day and I started doing judo. And in Fukushima, like everywhere in Japan, they have an accent. They got a dialect of Japanese. And my sensei, my goodness, Tomita sensei, talk about stacking habits on top of each other, Lorenzo. Like I said earlier, having to learn to hear, because it's almost existential at this point. I'm doing judo. I'm afraid
sure.
to fall. So I'm afraid to get, and just having to hear him speak and understand him and learn judo was quite the challenge.
I can imagine. How good is the Japanese?
It's fluent. I
Oh,
can listen to the news quite comfortably.
so
Yeah.
did you learn Japanese at school or did you self learn it?
I learned it, well, I learned it mostly by myself,
Wow.
but I was in the JET program. So as a JET, I'd be in um, the office at school. And
Mhm.
I'd be in the office, like the office, there's like the main teacher office. And then there's often like a side office for like more of the school helpers, the groundskeeper, the secretary, and all that, those types of people. And I would often sit in the biggest school. I would sit with them, and if I had a question, I just ask them, and there they are. They're just talking Japanese, and I'm listening to them, and then I'm studying in between classes when I don't have any other work to do. So over time, yeah, if you apply yourself, if there are any jets listening and you're in Japan and you got that amazing opportunity, you can definitely take yourself to proficiency.
So during the
I,
job, not only you teaching the local students English, but you also have an opportunity to learn Japanese yourself, and they teach you as well.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a little more informal. I mean, there's through the JET program, there's
Hmm.
opportunities to learn. I mean, in the in the city, there's all these, these Japan's amazing for resource centers
Sure.
and things of that nature. And there's tutors offering like retired individuals who are offering to just give you like I would go get taught on a Saturday morning by a retired individual, and there's so many opportunities to learn. It's a hard language. If you know a language that goes like ours, subject, verb, object, English and French, but the what it does for your mind when you learn a language is immense.
Hmm.
Um, to be able to you offset so much in terms of mental, uh, as you age. So Alzheimer's, for example, you offset a lot of the symptoms of Alzheimer's and other cognitive issues as you age by just learning a language.
Can you read and write too? The kanji and all that?
Yes, great segue, Lorenzo.
Beautiful.
So kanji is, it's like ideas, right? Ideograms. And there's like little pictures, right? So there was a man called James Heisig, Heisig. He teaches, I think, in Nagoya University. And what he did, he moved to Japan in the 70s.
Whoa.
And I have this book right here, Remembering the Kanji. He moved to Japan in the 70s, late 70s, and what he did was rather than organize the kanji like they do for the kids, because the kids already know Japanese when they go to the first grade.
Hmm.
They start learning their kanji, right? They're already fluent in their language. So to them, what a word sounds like is also its meaning. And then you have to learn to draw it, right? So it's only 2 articles of information for them. But for us, it's 3 articles of information. What does it sound like? What does it mean? And how do you draw it? So what he did was he said, okay, well, I'll just reorganize it because it's a language composed of radicals. Hundreds of radicals help to form those tens of thousands of characters, right? And he said, I'll devise it, the main 2,000 that you have to learn by high school, and I'll add 1 radical, and then I'll do as many characters as I can by doing little mnemonic devices. And a mnemonic device is a story, right? So he just kept doing that. And in about 6 to 8 weeks, he learned 1,800 to 2,000 different characters
Whoa.
in English, but he knew how to draw it. He knew the meaning. So he could at least look at a newspaper and say, okay, this happened. I can't read it out loud in Japanese, but at least I know the meaning. Because
Wow.
that's why, Japanese people, Chinese people, they go to one another's countries because kanji was imported from China 1,500 years ago. They at least know, okay, that's a butcher shop. Oh, that's a pharmacy. But they
Oh,
might not be able to like sound it out, right? So this type of approach, if you're a Westerner, is immense because you will save years of your life learning Japanese, in my opinion. So
beautiful. Beautiful. Wow.
thought you like that.
That's fascinating. Absolutely. I love languages. So when I went to
Yeah.
China, I wanted Chinese to be my lucky number 7 language, but Chinese let's put it this way, China was a different beast. So
Yes.
it would have
Well,
taken me a full-time endeavor for like almost like 4 or 5 years to get to where I wanted to be. So I said it's not a good ROI for me at that time. So I just whenever I needed to just hired someone, or I was just using the translation app on my phone to get by.
yeah. Yes. Chinese, Mandarin, uh, they use the simplified characters because Mao Zedong, he simplified it in the 50s, or I think,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
in Taiwan and in Hong Kong, they
It's
use
traditional.
more traditional, even more traditional than the Japanese version of characters, though
Wow.
they're speaking Cantonese and Taiwanese Mandarin. So
Mhm. Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
You know, there's a guy on YouTube. He's a French guy. His name is Kevin. Uh, his channel is called Le Japon en noir et blanc. It's in French. Check it
Hmm.
out. He speaks fluent Japanese. He's been there for a few years, so it's in English. His name is the channel's name is Japan in Black and White,
Okay.
and he has some amazing insight about Japan. I mean, he's been having his channel for years and years. He's been living for like I think 5 6 years. He got himself to becoming fluent in Japanese, and he provides amazing, amazing insight about life, about all aspects of Japanese society and living in Japan. And that's
Yep.
something that I thought you might be of interest to you as well.
Yeah. I'm already subscribed.
Oh,
Haven't
you
seen.
just okay. You
Yeah.
knew the guy, or you just looked him up now?
I just looked him up. I'm already subscribed.
Ah,
And
beautiful. Yeah,
yeah, I know. Yeah, he's married and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's fluent and
Traveling
yeah,
around the world in Japan. Yeah, yeah. Maybe you
it's
can
a
reach out
different.
to him and get interviewed by him. You would. Who knows? Or you
Yeah.
can invite them once you have your podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many opportunities out there,
Yeah,
Lorenzo.
absolutely. That's a beautiful thing. Now let's talk about your business. So tell us, what is your business and how did you get into this type of business?
Okay, so I think I stopped when I had gotten my master's in Vancouver, and so I was working for I was doing the medical alarm marketing for Providence Lifeline. It's a hospital in Vancouver, it's a hospital organization, and marketing for 5 years doing that. And then I came back to Calgary, and I worked in healthcare inquiry. It was a healthcare inquiry. I was an administrator for that for almost a year, and then I was also working for the a secular program for the church as a manager. It's called Feed the Hungry. Did that for 6 years. Reorganized that program. Spearheaded a gardening program, and did all these things for that program, and it was immense. We would feed 500 people every Sunday,
Hmm.
and at that time was when I was thinking, okay, so I can definitely, I'd love to go back because I kept my kinesiology certifications, and I obtained up to date, and I got myself a personal trainer certification. So I kept up going with that, and I said, man, online personal training is definitely something that's gonna pop as
Yeah,
it did during COVID. So as a COVID layoff, that's something that I decided to do, was to start this business and work with people. So I've been working with people online as a personal trainer. That was the first aspect of my business, was the personal training, helping people just via Zoom. As you can see, I've got, like I showed you, my little gym with the mat and my little things. So I showed people how to do their workouts and train them the whole way. But then I added behavior change coaching. It's fitness behavior change coaching is amazing because it's not so much about the what, but the how and the why. And
hmm,
so helping people to change their behavior, look like doing some, you know, stacking habits on top of one another on a weekly basis. My main program is 12 weeks. And, the analogy of the bucket.
yep.
So how do you fill a bucket? Well, you start with the rocks and then the pebble and then the sand.
I saw
That
that
is the
video just a
analogy.
few days ago. Yes, yes, yes.
So yeah, start with the big things. Just take pictures of your meals. Just start going for that walk, and then start stacking those habits. Maybe eventually you might have to count calories, but often you might not have to. So having different arrows in your quiver, and the more refined it gets over time, so that you're not overwhelming yourself initially. So that's something that I've been very happy doing, is to change people, give them their why. One of my clients, he was my client. He's still my client. He was a personal training client of mine, and then still is. And then last year, because he hadn't lost a lot of weight with me, and so we finally started after a year. Last year, we started the behavior change, and we did 24 weeks of it.
Mm,
And in those 24 weeks, he lost 50 pounds because he found
beautiful.
his children. family. If you find your why, you can adhere to the
Mhm.
change a lot more. All these programs on all these websites and whatever, I mean,
Yeah,
they're great, but if they don't have the why, like most people don't need to get too specific in the sciences. What they really need is the why to motivate them to continue so that they can stay consistent. That's over 80% of it, in my opinion.
I agree because it's
Yeah.
also with a why, also with why do you want it? I was watching some show. Actually, I was listening to a podcast by one of my favorite podcaster, Ed Milet. Have you heard of him?
Who?
Ed Milet.
No,
Very big in
no.
fitness. Look him up. Very big in fitness and then and business. So what he was saying is that he had a client. It was obese, and he said the reason why he was able to find the why to really get in shape was actually it was not his client. Sorry, my bad. It was his own experience. He went to the doctor. The doctor said, the cardiologist, "Hey, if you keep that way, you won't be able to be there for. Do you want to be?" Ask him, "Do you have kids?" "Yes, I have a daughter." "How old is your daughter?" "She's 5." "All right. Do you want to be there at their wedding day?" "Yes." "So if you want to be at a wedding day, you need to change your lifestyle, you need to change what you're doing, because if you keep going like this, you will not be there for a wedding day." And that was the why for him. It really give him the proverbial punch in the face, in the gut, to say, "Listen, I want to be at
Yeah.
my daughter's wedding." And then he became extremely fit. Now he's, inspiring millions and millions of people to get in shape. So look him up, Ed Milet.
Got it. I've already, got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Sounds interesting. Yeah, it's definitely the why. And
Yeah.
like I say, it's, people, you can have all of the sexy workouts and all of the science, might know all the physiology behind it,
Mhm.
but if you don't have that why, that burning why inside you, then it's, people have the issue to adhere without it.
Absolutely. So what would you say is your ideal client?
I'm looking for me out there. I'm looking for the close.
Beautiful.
I had, I was, after my divorce, I definitely gained, no, I had gained weight during my marriage, actually. And it was the stress of it, right? And, um, some men who are middle-aged and looking for that change,
Hmm.
looking to, there's just so many options now in terms of career choices and
Yes.
style. The world is getting smaller, in a lot of ways. It's, and so there's so many opportunities out there for people to really define who they want to
Totally.
be. And in part of that is how am I going to maintain my body and maintain my health? And so that type of individual, that type of professional who's a little bit off the beaten track, who's in middle aged, who's maybe divorced, who's got some battle scars, um, who's a bit of who's a learner, who's a lifelong learner. So I'm looking for me in my avatar in a lot of ways. I think it's easiest. I mean, there's so many professionals out there who can find that type of person who they have an affinity with in terms
Yeah.
of philosophy.
Hmm.
Um, and the clearer you find that your avatar, which is something that's always a work in progress, the more no's you get, well, the closer you get to a yes in terms of finding people that you can help.
Absolutely. I love what you said. I'm looking for me, because that right, that right there is secret. People, I work with coaches, and most of them, they come from a good place, a good intention. They want to help everyone with all of the issues. But as I told you last time, that's something that only God can do. And me and you are not God. Instead, focus on one specific person that resembles you as most as possible. And you put it in the best way possible. I heard it, and which is, I'm looking for me. I'm going to borrow that, if I may. I'm going to use that from now on, with
Knock
your
it out.
blessings, of course, So
Sure.
that's awesome. So
I didn't trademark it.
now you trademark it with the universe.
Yeah.
So
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us more about your program. So how long does it take for them? How long is your program? Do you work one-on-one? Do you work in classrooms? Tell us more
Yeah,
about the details.
absolutely. So my flagship is 12 weeks, and we're going to stack 2 or 3 habits every week.
Mm,
We're going to do different types of coaching tools. So, because we got to figure out what your values are early on.
hmm
Um, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? Who are you? Who do you want to become? Those are some thought experiments we do. Looking at the 5 pillars is another one we do. So we kind of look at what you were you successful in life in, and then we break it down, and you reassemble it. So you're like, oh, I'm a pragmatic, systematic, methodical, you know. Oh, I got a degree. I traveled the world, things of that nature, and you break it down. A successful company. I love that thought experiment, so that when you're out of the program, to help prevent relapse, oh, okay, how can I do something that's methodical or systematic in terms of, oh,
hmm
I'm going to go on a trip, but I don't want to overeat. Oh, I'm going to go on a cruise, but I don't want to overeat, and things of that nature. So different thought experiments throughout to really reassure the individual that they have the tools, the mental tools to, um, push forward, because it doesn't end after those 12 weeks. It's just begun in terms of your health and the new chapter of your life. And yeah, I'm working with an amazing organization called the World Mindset Organization to give my clients the option to do some mental fitness training too, with it's called Positive Intelligence app that they have a relationship with.
hmm
Daily mental fitness training, just little 2-minute things, 2-minute exercises. That's something I'm including to my clients, and even a bonus 7 weeks if they want to do work with other peers in that mental fitness. So giving people giving people a nice baseline in terms of mental
hmm
fitness and behavior change exercises. I'm there with them the whole hour to help, every week for 12 weeks, to really help them to hash out what their 3 habits per week are going to be. Yeah, it's really exciting stuff, because rather than just looking at things as like, here's a meal plan. Most people know what they eat. You just circle around the outside of a grocery store and you get your food. Like, you don't go, just don't go through the aisles and you won't get the processed food. It's really hard. It's not that hard. Uh, what's hard is the why. And so again, I'm trying to really layer the program and add a lot of value. I throw in some the option to, do a little personal training with my package, so that you have something to do if you want to work out at home. And this is my philosophy: is you should have a nice baseline
hmm
workout at home, even if you're the most diehard gym goer. Because right now, I mean, I'm not going to work out today with this smoke, but let's say if it's like a blizzard, um, yeah, you should have something at home. So, but the focus is the behavior change with my flagship, and really want to, help these professionals, especially as we start to, after the great resignation, and people are, the economy is reconfiguring, let's say. Hopefully it doesn't dip anymore, but, you know, giving these professionals the option of having this professional like me to help them to kind of shore up what they're going to do in terms of maintaining health. I support them with some nutrition, but again, it's more about the philosophy. It's about how can I approach pragmatically, how can I approach nutrition and diet and exercise in a pragmatic, realistic way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Share with us now, Sartre, if you may, an example of the most remarkable transformation you've seen from one of your clients so far.
It would be my 50-pound, and he was losing like 2 pounds a week. Yeah.
Sorry, sir. So that was not you. That was one of your client. I thought it was
That was
you.
one of my clients. I had
Oh,
gone
okay.
down. Well, you know what? I had gone down I'm 5'9", at my heaviest, when I was separated from my wife and things were just like, and I just said, F it, and I'm just going to lose this weight. I went from 220 to
Okay.
153. I
Within
got
what time span?
within a less than a year. I lost almost 70 pounds.
Wow.
And then I built back up. And like if you see my workouts now, I'm doing okay. I'm doing pretty good.
What did you do
Uh,
to lose that weight?
I did a lot of walking. I did a lot of fasting. I did a lot of full body workouts. And I did a lot. Yeah. It started with a flu. Because that job I had when I was working for the church, that secular program, the feeding program, it's high stress. It's, nonprofit. And you're the manager. And I was at a point where I finally got to, because we do 47 dinners a year. So it's right around Christmas. We take 2-3 weeks off during Christmas. And I was gutting my office, streamlining. I was cutting, like just getting everything gutted in terms of things we don't need. And I just built up all this stress. And I felt the flu coming. And I was sick the whole Christmas vacation. And that's when I started fasting and learning about fasting and how amazing it is.
You do intermittent fasting or whole day fasting?
I've done so I was doing like eat at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. one plate of food. And
Wow.
it's not really fasting, but I mean it is in a sense like 2 12-hour fasts in a day almost. And then I would do the lean gains where you eat between 12 and 8. And then I push it to OMAD, which is 1 meal a day. And then I even pushed it to like some 3-day fasts.
Well,
Um,
3 days, no food or
yeah,
just drinks. How do you survive on 3 days without eating any food?
fat, body fat. If you have body fat to burn, and you can even do like I would not suggest it, but it's possible. Like I did 2 days. I'm not going to suggest it to the audience, but I've done 2 days dry. Um,
No food,
but
no drink.
yeah, you you can you can add salts to your water if
Ah,
to make it way
the
safer.
ratio. Yeah, okay.
So sodium chloride, which is your Himalayan pink salt, potassium chloride, which is your uh, the no salts or the Windsor free salts or whatever. Sodium magnesium sulfate, which is your food grade Epsom salt from the food store. So you put that in your water, and it helps you to, because a lot of people forget that it's not necessarily thirst, because you have water in body fat. If you keep fasting, even if you're dry fasting, which isn't the safest, but even if you're dry fasting, you're going to be urinating still if you have body fat, because fat cells have water.
Hmm.
But you put that salt in, it's going to make your fast a lot safer, especially for your kidneys.
So
And
how much of the salt do you put in your water? One
so the
teaspoon?
but in 2 liters, the sodium chloride is half a teaspoon, and the potassium chloride is 1 teaspoon, and then the food grade Epsom salt is half a teaspoon.
Okay.
Yeah, not much. And that because it's interesting. We think we're thirsty, we think we're hungry, but what we are really hungry for is minerals.
I will tell you my personal experience. So during Ramadan, when I fast, I'm not hungry at all. I don't get thirsty, but around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I get kind of light headache. I get tired, weak, sleepy. But when it comes time to break the fast, I'm sweaty, man. I'm not hungry. I'm not thirsty,
Yeah.
but I feel weak.
How long do you fast for?
Well, when I was in this year, the Ramadan, I was in Kuala Lumpur. So we break the fast at 7:30 p.m. So nothing from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. But in Canada, the fast is even longer because the sunset is like almost past 8:30 at night.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Oh, is this
sometimes,
Ramadan?
yes,
Okay.
once a year. I remember one back then when I was in Edmonton. Ramadan was the month of June. It was sunlight up until 10 o'clock, so up until pretty much almost 10:30, 11 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't eat anything. That was brutal, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard. But it gets easier.
Yes, the
Yeah.
first day or the first 2 days are challenging, but then your body adapts. And then after that, I'm telling you, I was not hungry. I was not thirsty. Just felt like
Mhm.
a light headache and
Mhm.
weak and sleepy around 5 p.m.
Does Islam allow you to put salts in your water? You can't have water. You
No,
can't
no, no,
drink.
nothing in your mouth, nothing. No, nothing.
Oh, you can't even drink water.
No, no, no water. So what I did
Okay.
is I don't know if that counts. I would just rinse my mouth, my tongue, put some water, but I would not swallow it. I would just spit it back.
Oh,
Especially when
okay.
it's too hot outside, you know,
Yeah.
you don't dehydrate.
Mm. And even with multi-day fast, some people will put sodium bicarbonate, which is baking soda.
Mm.
You need to be careful though, because your stomach acids, so you don't want to eat like within the hour of having drinking salt water with baking soda, because your stomach acids are lower.
Another
But
type, another type
mm,
of fasting I've been doing for a while is, for example, let's say I don't eat anything after 8, 9 p.m. and I would have my lunch the next day around between 1 to 2 p.m. and in between skip breakfast, nothing.
yeah, yeah,
Does it count? Does that work?
yeah, 12 to 8ish. That's called the lean gains.
Okay.
That's the lean gains fast. Now, there's two things I want to say is there's even hard dry fasting where you don't even take a shower.
Really?
Yeah, hard dry fasting was you don't even take a shower. And then because a soft dry fast is if you drink water, is a soft dry fast is if you can take a shower. And so now there's even research where it's called the early time restricted feeding, which is you eat when you wake up because that's when your insulin sensitivity is highest, right? And then you eat maybe at 2 p.m., maybe 6 to 2. That 8 hour windows, they'll say, okay, maybe if we do a 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. feeding window, and then you don't eat after 2 p.m.
Wow.
And so early time restricted feeding, there's a lot of research, especially around 2020, 2021, where because you're fully digested by 10 p.m. when you go to bed, and you had optimized when you are consuming foods in terms of insulin sensitivity, right? Insulin is the hormone that puts sugar into the cells.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing like results in terms of lower inflammation,
Mhm.
because eating is inflammatory. It's mechanically, just speaking, it's inflammatory to eat all the time. Lower inflammation because you're going to bed with nothing in your GI tract.
Mhm.
Better sleep, lower hunger even at night, because hunger makes you hungry. Eating
Sure.
makes you hungry. So there's a lot of, and even just, they say a calorie is a calorie, but I don't know, because in terms of, you'll see people with the same amount of calories, if they front load it in the
Mhm.
day and they clear their body sooner and go to bed empty, over time, it does take time to get used to it, but over time you'll see people they're saying people are losing more weight with it. You've heard the expression, eat breakfast like a king, eat lunch like a prince, and eat dinner like a pauper, a poor person. So
Yeah.
there might be some truth to that, is what the research is saying in terms of intermittent fasting with time restricted feeding.
So one thing I'd like to hear your feedback on is two very different school of thoughts. One is, they're saying eat multiple times a day, but smaller portions. But then you have other ways of thinking. People are saying eat 2 meals or 1 meal a day, but you can eat anything you want as much as you want.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that? What would you recommend?
The latter for me, I like to eat once or twice, or
Mm,
even like I've tried, yeah, because again, when I eat, it makes me hungry.
mm.
And
It makes me hungry. It makes me sleepy and tired when after eating.
feeding just too many feeding opportunities. I'm not, it depends on your metabolism. I think it's important to eat early. I think it's something to look into if it's what I've just talked about in terms of time restricted feeding. I think the 6 meals a day, if you're like somebody who's lifting weights twice a day, you're a competitor. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're somebody who can definitely eat 6 times a day. Ultimately, calories in and out is probably the most important thing.
Mhm.
Timing is also very important because our brain, our organs have circadian clocks. So there is something truth to, our ancestors probably like got up and they're like, let's go find some food and then let's go hide again, right? Find food and hide. That's all we did. And so there's probably truth in terms of wanting to eat early on.
Yeah.
Eating frequently, I think is something that we can adapt to do because we have to be adaptable human beings. Like we've had so many challenges in terms of being humans and small and not the strongest animal in the wilderness. Famines, I'm sure we're very adaptable. It's about your physical activity levels. If you need that constant protein to build your muscles, if you're if you're strength training twice a day, you can probably eat 6 times a day.
What awesome. What are your thoughts on another thing that kind of torn? Some people saying go all vegan, avoid all protein, all meat, and then other people on YouTube I'm seeing some crazy results, positive results of only eating meat, like a carnivore meat.
Yeah. So elimination diets, I did a YouTube short about this last week. And what I started by saying was, I believe that we should be eating something to the effect of, I believe that we should be eating an omnivorous spectrum of organic, whole, cooked, raw, cooked, and fermented foods.
Mm.
And then, like you look at the human profile, there's these amazing charts on Google Images. We have mostly the morphology of a frugivore. We can see color. We can taste sugar. We have amylase, which is an enzyme in the saliva to digest sugar in the saliva before it even gets to the stomach. We can do this with our jaw, move it side to side, like other herbivores, right? But even herbivores in the wild, they probably, a lot of them eat rodents, like a lot of primate, or they'll eat their feces, right? Because of the
Mm.
B12, probably the vitamin B12 in the feces.
Wow.
So that said, I think we're chiefly omnivores, but we can adapt. I mean, look at the Inuits; they eat only meat, pretty much. And then you can see people like in the blue zones or first day Adventists in California eating practically just a vegetarian diet, right? So, and they do the ETF, the early time restricted feeding, and also a lot of Buddhist monks do. So, I think that when you eliminate something, it can be a nice medical intervention. So you're
Mhm.
seeing people who are cutting out meat and then things go well for a while, or they cut out vegetables and things go well for a while. I'm under the impression that's probably more of a medical, like you can probably use it for medical interventions. Now, even just people, not just like food groups, but macronutrients, people cutting out carbohydrates and going, by the way, most people aren't even on ketogenic diet. Most people are on a modified Atkins diet, but the ketogenic diet, that was for mostly kids with epilepsy,
Mhm.
because body fat is the diesel fuel of the human body. It's the
Yes.
slow burning fuel, steady fuel. So because they don't have any sugar in their system, they don't get the seizures because that's the sparky short-term energy
Mhm.
source. And people who consume a lot of protein, because you're not on keto if you're eating a lot of protein. Keto is
Mhm.
supposed to be 80+%, 90% fat.
No.
Your body will make sugar from protein in a process called gluconeogenesis in the liver. So, Lorenzo, there's different options out there for people. And that's the beauty of being a human being,
Yeah.
is our omnivorous spectrum of food. I mean, if you want to be vegan for ethical reasons, that's great. And a lot of people, if they do it right with a proper nutritionist, they learn what they should eat. Yeah, you you can probably be vegan for a while, or you can probably do the vegan lifestyle too.
There's a guy on YouTube, I saw a video saying his diet was eating first thing in the morning, a steak and 2 eggs. He did that for 30 days. He dropped a lot of weight, and he drastically boosted his testosterone level, which for a man is absolutely vital, especially as we age. That
Yeah,
was something that was really intriguing for me.
yeah. And I'm seeing videos of people saying that's probably the fat, I think, because you need cholesterol, which is from fat, like animal fat. You can make it yourself, but you need cholesterol to make um, testosterone and
Yes.
estrogen and progesterone, the
Mm.
steroid hormones. So, but I'm also seeing that carbohydrates are important for testosterone.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm not about to just quit. I love my carbs. I'm
Oh, me
Haitian.
too.
I mean,
Yeah.
beans and rice. Come on,
Yeah.
plantains. The short term, and you can store like 1,400 calories of glycogen in your body for that explosive
Hmm.
workout. I like, I don't want to. A lot of these people are on keto, are supplementing it with a lot of caffeine,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? A lot of caffeine to make them feel like they can do that burstful energy, that burstful exercise, right? That short-term exercise. I, you know, yeah, I like to eat a bit of everything.
Yeah.
I don't have any ailments where I need to eliminate. Have had my T checked. It's fine. Um, so I'm interested to see how these people who are on the carnivore
Yeah.
or the keto are going to do in about 10 years.
Yeah. That's true.
Um, there's a condition which I'm trying to focus on. It's called andropause, which is male menopause.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know about it. The beautiful thing about male menopause, I've talked about this last week in a YouTube short, is that you can reverse it a lot with men. Eat right, eat whole foods, get your sun. Vitamin D helps you to make
Yeah.
steroid hormones, right? You go outside, you make vitamin D, it helps you to make steroid hormones. Do your short-term exercise, your short, your explosive workouts, and take a rest the next day and go for a walk. Give your body 48 hours, in my opinion, to heal. Go get that 10,000 steps on off days, which is what I do. I don't do any splits. I like to focus in on the full body with either body weight, kettlebells, bands, um, gymnastic rings, things like that. And then off days, I like to just go for a walk, maybe shoot hoops, things like that.
You
Um,
know, speaking of exercises, I've been walking an average of 10, sometimes 15, 20,000 steps a day for the past 2 years. Yes,
wow.
it feels good, but I haven't lost any weight as a result of that. And I get it. It's because maybe I'm not having the proper diet and I haven't changed any of my diet. I eat a lot of sometimes I love bread. That's a French side of me, bread, cheese, I can't live without it, rice. And
Yeah.
one thing that I know I need to stop, I'm addicted to Coca-Cola. I need to drink at least one glass a week, sorry, a day. I need to.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah. Drinking your calories.
mm,
We weren't evolved to drink our calories.
yeah,
That's a huge one.
yeah.
It's not so bad if you drink it with your meal because you're gonna
That's
have
what I
that.
do. Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, the insulin spike is already kind of blunted by what the food you're eating.
Hmm.
Um, but how often are you eating?
I would say
Yeah,
twice a day, like lunch and dinner.
yeah. Is it a plate of food? Like,
Plate
are
of
you
food, but
eating?
I only drink one glass of Coca-Cola just with the lunch.
Okay? And then are you strength training?
Now that I'm here in Canada, no. But when I was in KL, I had, you see the picture behind me? That's the swimming pool. And on the 35th floor, on the 36th floor, there was a gym. I was going once, sometimes twice a day. I was doing weight training and all that. And
Yeah.
I went to an amazing gym that one of my good friends that I met there. also on the podcast was running I and Gym for Expats. With them, it was really working me hard. It was making me lose 1 kilo each session. So in 1 week, I lost probably 10 kilos, but then I gained it back when I came here because the only thing
Hmm.
I do here is just I do walking, I do my push-ups in the morning, and that's pretty much it.
Hmm. Well, that's the beautiful thing about, you know, behavior change is that you take some pictures of your meals, like what are you eating in 3 days? Don't switch your habits. Just take a pictures of for 3 days and then take a look at that and see. Have somebody like me take a look at that and see, and then we can, and then that's the kickoff to the behavior change. So, and then of course, if you need, learning the portion sizes
Mm-hmm.
is something. That's the next thing. I have a video that I haven't released. I'm not sure. I've talked about it before. The 1945 diet, I call it. It's eat how North Americans ate. We ate in North America right at the end of the war when people were paranoid. Then they could portion their foods. It was a 9-inch plate. It was half veggies, quarter, about 4 fingers, protein source, about a bowl, your palm of your hand, starch, no more than 10 ounces, maybe no more than 8 ounces of milk. 3 times a day, no snacking. You get your hand hit by putting your finger in the hand in the cookie jar if it's not a Sunday, right? Called Sundays for a reason. You ate it on Sunday only, I think.
Yeah,
And
that's a good
so,
one.
um, and they didn't count calories. They just, but they walked 20 minutes to school. They played at lunch. My students in Japan, like it's a bowl of rice 3 times a day. It's a bowl of miso soup. It's some salmon or whatever, maybe some pickled vegetables, no snacking in between. The kids, they play their sports year round. If you're on the basketball team, you play every single day almost. You clean the school for 20 minutes at lunchtime, in the afternoon, and you play at lunchtime. So these kids are getting like 3 hours of exercise, and then they're commuting to and from school on their bikes. It's unbelievable how they've structured it.
Same thing for the Mediterraneans, the French, the Italian, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the Greek. They eat everything they want, but yet they're not obese.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, their bread is different.
Yeah.
I mean, you're from France, so
Yeah,
the
I know.
bread here
Okay.
is Frankenbread.
Yeah, it's real bread, yes. Real bread.
The wheat is different. Down
Yeah.
to the wheat in North America is different. Um, and they don't fret. That's the thing. They don't fret
Hmm.
in Europe. You have a bit and then you call it. You don't binge because you have a little bit and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's rich.
Cheese, like creamy cheese, we eat that. We cannot live without that. For example, in France and French culture and in the Mediterranean, the Italians, but they what they do, they eat a lot of olive oil, a lot of, olives and veggies, a lot of
Yeah.
wine. That really helps as well.
Yes. The blue zones, the Mediterranean diet.
Yeah.
Okinawa is a blue zone, but it's changing because of the importation of the standard American diet restaurants, right? Sad restaurants.
Yeah.
They live the longest, but that's changing. And these people, and another thing with the why do Japanese people live so long? They have the why. The grandparents are taking care of the grandkids. It's a 3-generation family, nuclear family. So they still have that purpose. They're not in the nursing home.
Yes.
They have a purpose. I remember seeing 80-year-old grandmothers walking their 4-year-old granddaughters to school because they have that purpose. That alone. I mean, you hear people waiting and like they'll pass away after an anniversary, or they'll soon pass away after their loved one, their wife or husband passes away. Broken heart syndrome is a thing. It really is.
Yeah. And in Japan and Asia in general, but in Japan especially, they age really well. Like an 85-year-old Japanese is probably in better shape than a 65-year-old Westerner.
Yeah.
Even a 50-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's fascinating, man. We can talk about that for hours, but let's move on. Let's move on. So one thing I want to know your feedback on it is something I've been very intrigued, but I always puzzle my mind. What are your thoughts on the breatharians, the people that don't eat and just feed their body just with breathing?
Yeah, I've heard of that. I mean, I don't believe it. I mean, come on. You can definitely fast for a long time.
I saw a
You can
guy
have,
on YouTube. He hasn't eaten for like 20 years.
I don't get it. I don't understand. It doesn't compute.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know. No, it doesn't compute. Something's up. Something's fishy. Because I
Yeah,
mean, what is it? The law of entropy, or is it nuclear? I mean, Newton would
yeah,
be like, this makes no sense. Like,
yeah.
yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, there's a lot of proponents of different things, and I'm definitely open-minded, but I mean, that's probably one idea
Yeah,
too far. I mean,
I
you can
agree.
definitely fast for a long. If you're 400 pounds, you can fast down to an ideal, quote unquote, on the ideal body weight by you can pretty much do it like with just salt water,
Really?
honestly.
Wow.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't, recommend never eating, but it's just it's your body will just eat itself. And
Oh, yes, yes. Okay.
it's in the proper context structure. Um it can be done. I've done multi-day fasts. Um and it's quite effective, and just teaching your body that you don't have to eat every single, like, if I'm going to every single day, like if I'm going to be sitting around and being very sedentary and not getting 10,000 steps on a rest day, then I'm definitely going to eat lighter. It's not
Yeah.
like I owe my body food,
Yeah.
right?
It's not a race.
And
Beautiful.
that's a mindset that we need to change here. um
Mhm.
and then they insert snacks, and these snacks that we have in North America, I mean, there's these trail mixes are great, but that's a lot of calories. A handful is like 200 calories. And so we definitely need to change our relationship with food, in my
Mhm.
opinion.
Totally. Absolutely. It's all about exercise is one part of the equation. The other part is what you eat, what you put inside.
Abs are made in the kitchen.
And the third part, that's something
They're
that a
not
lot of
meat.
people do not underestimate. That is sleep. Don't sleep enough.
Yes, because when you're sleeping, you're reducing your feeding opportunities, and you're rebuilding your body,
Totally.
rejuvenating it. Yeah, those are two big
Totally.
factors.
Totally. Last question I have about your business. How are you getting your clients currently?
I do a lot of online networking, a lot of I actually, yeah, so with my Zoom networking group that I co-founded, I meet people there, and then different other Zoom networkings, and just being on social media and meeting people and having conversations in the DMs.
Mhm.
And yeah, those are things that I'm doing to meet people.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
YouTube videos and
Yeah, that's it. Now, we can keep going on for hours and hours because you have an incredible,
thanks.
wisdom, especially with your professional background and, as a kineologist and nutrition and all that. That's something I'm fascinated. But let's move forward. Let's wrap this up. To finish, I'd like to ask you a series of rapid fire questions on advices. Ready?
Yes.
What's the best piece of advice you've received so far?
In my life,
Life or business, both. Yeah,
never quit.
love that. What's the worst piece of advice you received so far?
Oh my goodness. Something forgettable, so I probably don't remember it. Is that witty enough?
Oh yes, oh yes. Now, do you have imagine that you were blessed with a time machine and you can go back in time and sit face to face with the 18-year-old Sartre. What's the number
Yeah.
one piece of advice you would give to him knowing all that you know now?
Never quit and start saving up, and work on number one, and all of the friends and fruits of the labor will come as long as you focus on yourself and follow your and plan. Definitely follow your heart and plan.
Yeah.
And that will definitely take you at 18. Oh my goodness. You know, everybody says that, and it is so unbelievably true. And that is the, what is the word? Tragedy, not a tragedy, but that is the catch of life, is that you can't go back. You can never go back.
Not by time. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
At
Wow.
least with current technology.
Not yet. Yeah. Do you have your own podcast?
No, I'm just getting settled with my YouTube. I do not
Mhm.
have my own podcast.
Okay. Now imagine that you have a podcast and it's very successful, but today you're interviewing the most special person in the world, which is yourself. What's the first question that you want to ask yourself? Don't think too much, or the first question that comes to your mind.
What drives you? What gets you out of bed?
And what's your answer?
Helping people.
Beautiful. Love that. The last question I want to ask you, and that's my favorite question I ask my guest, and that is, what is the smallest thing you've done that has had the greatest, deepest, most profound positive impact on both your life and business? And by small, I don't mean something small. I mean the one thing. For example, for me, it's been starting my podcast. What about you?
Taking the plunge after
Mm,
after the layoff with my other job.
yeah, absolutely. I can see that. Same here. Now, if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
Email sjg@sjgfit.com.
Mhm.
sjg@sjgfit.com. That's my short email.
Website?
sjgfit.com.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. You can send me after all your
My
any
link
links
tree.
on me. Yeah, link tree and all that. I'll post it in the show notes. All right. Listen, Sartre, absolute pleasure, honor talking to you. I salute you. You're truly with a heart. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world with your presence, with your impact, with your work, with everything you're doing. Stay safe. Stay awesome. God bless you, brother. We're definitely going to be talking soon. Take care, brother.
Thanks, Lorenzo. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Ciao.